Time is up for the battleground state to finish their election count. This is a live look in Palm Beach County where officials have just started speaking. This is Susan Booker, the supervisor of the County Board of Elections. She says their machines overheated. They couldn't get it done. She's about to go testify, she says, in front of a judge about their problems. Let's listen.
Round of counting, the recount could have changed those numbers?
No, we were searching for exactly those numbers. That's what we had. That's what we continue to have.
And you're confident everything was great?
I am.
And for the manual recount, it starts here, and then when does the canvassing board get involved?
Well, what happens is that they separate ballots by a verified vote for one candidate, verified vote for another. Another stack is an under, another stack is an over, and then the questionable ones go to the canvassing board. Thank you very much. We gave it everything we had. I'm very proud of my team. I'm proud that we had partners at Palm Beach County, and we are a good election office, and I have a great team. I think that we just got stuck with some mechanical issues that were inherited. Yes, ma'am. That's in the Senate race over and unders that we're required to review. Yes.
Superintendent, do you think any Palm Beach County voters would have any reason to think you and your staff let it down?
No, I don't believe so. We counted every vote and we uploaded our results, and they are accurate. And we conducted a logic and accuracy test. The machines were working properly at that time. It was during the recount that we dropped some tally, and so that really is not what we reported anywhere. We reported real results when we counted every ballot that we reported on Saturday.
The bottom line is Palm Beach County, perhaps no other county in the state, is going to fail to make the deadline at 3 o'clock. It just has.
I don't know that, but the fact of the matter is that I inherited this old equipment. We're trying to buy new equipment. I need it to comply with the law, and when it does, I'll buy it. Thank you.
The other three races?
Again, that's Susan Booker, the supervisor of the County Board of Elections. Our Phil Keating, you may have heard him asking questions there. Phil, my understanding of things is that now she's about to go give some testimony before a judge, and that a manual recount will start, or will you explain it if you could?
They're waiting for the Secretary of State's office once the Secretary of State's Division of Elections goes over all of this second round of unofficial results from all counties. Once they add the numbers up, they will then decide which races still must need a hand recount. In all likelihood, that it was going to include the Florida Senate race between Republican Governor Rick Scott and Democratic incumbent Bill Nelson, because the difference after the first round of counting was 0.14 of 1%. Anything under 0.25% automatically gets a hand recount if the first machine recount does not bring it up above 0.5%. And so she'll wait for that. She indicated to me prior to the news conference that she would most likely order her staffers to begin the hand recounting late this afternoon or into this evening, but more likely today, not tomorrow. Broward County, I believe, is intending on starting the hand recount first thing Friday morning. The equipment issues that Susan Booker, the superintendent, was talking about are all over here behind me. These are outdated and old counting machines. They can only recount the results of one race at a time. So you've got to take all of the few 100,000 ballots in Palm Beach County and run them through 4 times, where every other county only needs to do it once. That's because in Palm Beach County there are 4 races that are subject to this state-ordered recount. The Senate race, the governor's race, the race for Commissioner of Agriculture, and here in Palm Beach County, there is a local Florida State House race, District 89, which right now has the Republican in the lead by just 37 votes. Well, the Democrat who was behind a few days ago saw the writing on the wall, saw that this recount in Palm Beach County was not going to be complete, especially for his lower tier race. And so he filed suit in federal court in Tallahassee. At 4 o'clock, Judge Walker will hear arguments not only from Palm Beach County, but also from opponents on the other side, whether or not the deadline of 3 p.m. today, which is now behind us, whether that can be dropped and Palm Beach County alone would be allowed to recount, perhaps for 3 to 5 more days until they get a final tally on that recount in and send it up to the Secretary of State. So we'll know that in the 4 o'clock hour, most likely.
I was listening to the superintendent there before this news hour began, And I believe I heard her say that they have very old machines that were reheating, that she wants to spend $11 million on new machines, but hasn't been able to do so yet for some reason.
Yeah, she says the state has to authorize and certify the certain types of machine. She also said she, as supervisor here in Palm Beach County, an elected position, by the way, by the people, she inherited these old machines, and they're just trying to update them right now. But Broward County, Miami-Dade County, they made the deadline at 3 o'clock. They have recounting tabulation machines, which can do all of the recount races at once, dramatically, exponentially reducing the amount of time it takes to make that 3 o'clock deadline. Palm Beach County did not make it. Tuesday night, it was a big issue, a big problem, a big setback for Palm Beach County. A couple of the machines were overheated. That was being blamed on the old, outdated counting machines being overworked 24 hours a day for this massive statewide recount in all of these very, very tight races in the state of Florida. And it is believed that mechanics had to fly in to then fix the machines. Workers overnight then recounted all of the data that they lost because they lost a day's worth of recounting when those machines broke down. So they did that all overnight, and that brought them back to where they were. However, this room was completely empty all day long yesterday and last night. And we asked the superintendent earlier today, why weren't you guys still recounting when the deadline is the very following day? And she said she had to give her people time to sleep and eat. Shep.
And a reminder, a federal judge calling the Florida recount, quote, the laughing stock of the nation for not anticipating these election problems. That's Phil Keating in Palm Beach County. Let's go one county south from the Palm Beaches down to the Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood area, which is Broward County on the East Coast. That's where officials completed their recount with time to spare. Our Peter Ducey is reporting from outside the Board of Elections office in Lauderhill.
And Shep, they got it done with about 12 minutes to spare. That is when, on this last day to get the results in, the machine recount results in, we had our first sighting of the Broward County Supervisor of Elections, Brenda Snipes. She came out to say that she was excited to be at this point, being able to submit results, but she couldn't actually tell us what the results are, and she said that if we want to know, we just need to keep checking the website. There were about 24 ballots that she said were duplicates that are going to wind up being submitted anyway, because she says that she doesn't want any voters to be disenfranchised, and if the election finally does come down after a hand recount to a difference of 23 ballots, then they'll have to go back and figure out which ones might have been duplicates. But disenfranchising voters in Florida is also a big concern of a judge up north of here, Judge Mark Walker. He ruled that today's 3 o'clock deadline did not matter if you are somebody in Florida who recently got a note from the county that said that the signature on your ballot that you submitted did not match the signature that they had on their voter rolls. He said, if you had a mismatched signature, you have until Saturday at 5 p.m. to submit your ballot. That is something, though, that the Rick Scott campaign, which is trying to claim victory, is challenging in court. Chip.
How many ballots are we talking about here, Peter?
It's really not a lot. A baker's dozen worth of ballots is something that had the Nelson campaign celebrating today. Their lawyer, Mark Elias, tweeted a little while ago, breaking Broward County judge rules against Scott request to invalidate 13 ballots counted after first unofficial canvassing deadline passed. And then the big number that the Scott campaign today is bragging about is 54. They say that after all these millions of ballots have been put back in the machines, their lead is expanded by 54. A spokesman, Chris Hartline, tells us this: everyone knows how this is going to end. Everyone is in on the joke here. What the Democrats want to do here is throw out all the fraud protections on the books, not reelect Bill Nelson. So that's where we are right now. The deadline has passed. Looks like there is a little bit of action back here. They're coming back into session at the canvassing board. We might get some results. They might just tell us to check the website again, but we'll know soon, Shep.
All right, Peter. If you get results, we'll come back to you. Thank you. A live look now, Westlake Village in California, where today mourners are offering a hero's farewell to a man who raced toward danger and tried to protect others. Sergeant Ron Helis was one of the first to run into the suggestion that he's been set up. Russia investigation. a day after major developments involving Mueller's team. The outgoing Republican Senator Jeff Flake from Arizona says he will not vote for any of the president's judicial nominees unless and until the Senate is allowed to vote on a bill to protect the special counsel. Now, it appears this isn't going to happen, and that could complicate things for the GOP lawmakers who are looking to confirm dozens of conservative judges before the end of the year. Our chief White House correspondent John Roberts reporting live from the North Lawn. John?
And we'll get to that aspect in just a second, Shepard. We're still awaiting a decision from the president and his attorneys as to whether or not the president will submit written answers to Robert Mueller about the Russia investigation. It remains an open question as to whether that is going to happen. What's not in question is how the president feels about the Mueller investigation, going off in a vitriolic series of tweets on Twitter this morning saying, quote, "The inner workings of the Mueller investigation are a total mess. They have found no collusion and have gone absolutely nuts. They are screaming and shouting at people, horribly threatening them to come up with the answers they want. They are a disgrace to our nation and don't care how many lives they ruin." The president going on to say universities will someday study what highly conflicted and not Senate-approved Bob Mueller and his gang of Democrat thugs have done to destroy people. The attacks on the Mueller probe, and particularly the president's appointment of Matt Whitaker to serve as interim attorney general, have certainly raised a lot of concerns among people on Capitol Hill. Listen to what Chuck Schumer said this morning.
This morning, for what seemed like the millionth time, the president angrily, wildly, and baselessly ranted about the special counsel's investigation. It doesn't matter to him that his claims have no basis. It doesn't matter to him that his words may degrade faith in our independent law enforcement agencies and the rule of law. He proceeds only according to self-interest.
Now, people have wondered how long Matt Whitaker will serve as the interim attorney general. By statute, he can be there for 200 days. Whitaker just got out of a meeting with Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Jake Gibson, our Justice Department producer, passes along what Graham said about that meeting. He said of Whitaker, quote, "He believed he did not have a reason to recuse himself legally or factually from the Mueller investigation. Nothing I've seen would require him to be recused. I think he's got the background and the judgment to fulfill this job." So Whitaker likely going nowhere anytime soon. Shep?
John Roberts reporting from the White House. And our reporting continues next.
This is Loma.
Democrats take back the House of Representatives for the next Congress. But that doesn't guarantee that the first woman speaker in U.S. history will get the gavel back. Our chief congressional correspondent Mike Emanuel reporting live from Capitol Hill.
Shep, good afternoon. Some Democrats are telling us they expect the fight among House Democrats to get ugly. Fox News has confirmed at least 17 Democrats have signed a letter saying they will oppose Nancy Pelosi for Speaker. Some newly elected, others just re-elected. Pelosi says some of the opposition is because so many negative ads were run against her.
It's not about me, it's about them and their opponent, and obviously those ads didn't work. We have the biggest victory since 1974. You'd have to ask those people what their motivation is. I think of the 17, it's mostly like 14 men who are on that letter.
Ohio Democrat Congresswoman Marcia Fudge has spoken openly about potentially running against Pelosi, and that is making things tricky for other Democrats.
I'm not anti-Pelosi, but whatever Marcia does, I'm very pro-Marcia. But I have not seen where Marcia's running for Speaker. I think that this is something that others are pushing. So if anybody asks me today, would I be flattered to be Speaker? Absolutely. Am I running for Speaker? Absolutely not.
So far, Nancy Pelosi is the only declared candidate for Speaker. Shep.
What's the latest from Republicans, Mike?
Well, Republican elections for leadership seem to be rather drama-free. In the House, you've got Kevin McCarthy, who will be the minority leader. Then you've got Steve Scalise, who will continue as the whip. And the newcomer is Liz Cheney of Wyoming.
We have such huge momentum with the Trump economy, with the jobs we've seen, with the improvements we've seen to our national security. We absolutely cannot let the Democrats in the House stop that momentum and turn us around. So we're going to fight every day to get our majority back.
Senate GOP leadership will be Mitch McConnell as Majority Leader, John Thune as Whip, John Barrasso of Wyoming, Roy Blunt of Missouri, and newcomer Joni Ernst of Iowa. Thune says senators are waiting to see what approach House Democrats will take.
When they have their leadership elections, and assuming they elect Nancy Pelosi the Speaker, I think we'll find out right away whether or not she and her caucus intend to legislate, in other words, work with us in a constructive way to build on all the progress that we've made the last couple of years, or whether they intend to investigate.
With divided government, the trick will be finding common ground. Shep.
Emmanuel reporting live from the Hill. The man accused of mailing more than a dozen bombs to well-known Democrats and critics of President Trump, plus CNN, has pleaded not guilty. Did so today. Cesar Sayoc in federal court here in New York City, pleading not guilty to all 30 charges against him, including executing a domestic terrorist attack. Sayoc could face life in prison if convicted. Investigators say he mailed 16 bombs to 13 people across the country. Targets included the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and former President Obama. None of the bombs exploded. The judge set his trial for April. Cops in Los Angeles say they arrested Michael Avenatti on a charge of domestic violence. Avenatti is Stormy Daniels' lawyer. He calls the claims against him completely bogus. Our chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt reporting live from Los Angeles.
Shep, he's a man who's known for his sharp suits and sharp elbows, and Michael Avenatti made some pretty sharp statements after he walked out of court last night, having been released on $50,000 bail, heading straight to the waiting TV cameras to dismiss the allegations against him as untrue and as an attempt to besmirch his reputation.
I have never struck a woman. I never will strike a woman. I have been an advocate for women's rights my entire career, and I'm going to continue to be an advocate. I am not going to be intimidated from stopping what I am doing.
The incident allegedly happened at Avenatti's home here in L.A., and police say there were visible injuries to the alleged victim. That person has not been publicly identified. Avenatti's estranged wife said she was not involved after rumors circulated online that she might have been, and his first wife defended him in a tweet, saying he was never abusive and, quote, is a good man. Shep?
We heard from Stormy Daniels, is that right?
Yes, of course, she is Avenatti's most famous client, and she made him famous. She's the porn actress who alleges she had an affair with Donald Trump in 2006. Daniels issued a statement today saying she will reserve judgment regarding what she termed serious and troubling allegations against Avenatti, adding, "I do not condone violence against women, and if these allegations prove true, I will be seeking new representation." Shortly after that statement, Avenatti took to Twitter once again to decry what he called bogus facts and to say, quote, "There is a lot of inaccurate reporting out there." Now, Avenatti obviously has openly talked about mounting a presidential bid in 2020, an ambition likely to be put on hold for the moment while he fights these allegations. Shep, he's due back in court December 5th. Shep?
Right. Jonathan Hunt reporting from Los Angeles. Remember the couple who claimed a homeless guy gave the woman his last $20 bill? So they started a GoFundMe page for him and raised hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, now a prosecutor says the couple and the man made the whole thing up. Scam much? That's next. A couple who raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for a homeless man is now accused of conspiring with that man in a get-rich-quick scheme. A prosecutor in the state of New Jersey says the woman admitted in a text to a friend that her whole story was made up. It was about a year ago. We reported on it here. She said she got stranded on a highway near Philly, and a homeless man used his last few bucks to buy her some gas. She and her boyfriend started a GoFundMe page, and everybody chipped in. They raised $400,000 for that man. Well, now prosecutors say it was all cooked up by all three of them. Jackie Heinrich reporting from New York City. Jackie?
Shep, prosecutors say the trio hoodwinked 14,000 donors with their sob story, a tale the homeless man had used before as early as 2012. Now all three are facing fraud charges. Prosecutors say the couple, Kate McClure and Mark D'Amico, had actually met Johnny Bobbitt Jr. in a casino about a month before they posted this photo to GoFundMe. Together, they allegedly cooked up that lie using the same tale Johnny posted to Facebook in Florida in 2012 and then launched that fake campaign. About an hour after it went live, Kate McClure allegedly confessed it was a ruse.
Less than an hour after their GoFundMe page went live, McClure, in a text exchange with a friend, stated that the story about Bobbitt assisting her was fake. Specifically, she wrote, "Okay, so wait, the gas part is completely made up, but the guy isn't. I had to make something up to make people feel bad."
Investigators say if it hadn't been for that couple getting greedy, they might have all gotten away with it. The issues came to light in September when the homeless Marine veteran filed a lawsuit saying D'Amico and McClure hadn't given him his fair share. That's when forensic accountants came knocking. Bobbitt got about $75,000. The couple spent tens of thousands more.
By the middle of March, D'Amico and McClure squandered the vast majority of the money contributed by donors who intended to help a homeless veteran. Among other things, they bought a car, took trips, purchased high-end handbags, and hit the casinos hard.
Investigators went through more than 60,000 text messages before bringing those charges against all three. Shep?
Jackie, so $400,000, what happens to that?
So GoFundMe is issuing full refunds to everybody who donated, saying this type of crime is unacceptable. They issued a statement which reads in part, "It's important to understand that misuse is very rare on our platform. Campaigns with misuse make up less than 1/10 of 1% of all campaigns. We have a zero tolerance policy for fraudulent behavior. If fraud occurs, donors get refunded, and we work with law enforcement officials to recover that money." Prosecutors also said it's unfortunate that generous people were taken advantage of because this type of crime can be damaging to the public psyche. They want jail time for all three of them, and none of their lawyers returned our request for comment. Shep?
Jackie Heinrich reporting from New York. We'll follow up on that one. Tensions between the United States and Iran are escalating still over Washington pulling out of the historic nuclear deal and reinstating economic punishments against Tehran. The security analysts that are warning now that Iran could retaliate with a cyber attack. Rich Edson reporting live from the State Department.
Shep, more U.S. sanctions and perhaps more cyber attacks, more aggressive cyber activity from Iran. This is according to a number of security analysts after the United States has fully withdrawn this month from the Iran nuclear deal. The former director of global engagement at the White House tells us, quote, "We are very likely to see Tehran in the coming months and days and weeks target American interests. The most vulnerable and important objective for them are American businesses. They see affecting some economic impact as retribution for the significant sanctions the Trump administration has reimposed." He says Iran has also improved its information warfare capabilities. In other words, manipulating social media to try to change public opinion, even affect elections. Some security firms say they have already seen an increase in activity from Iran after the United States in May announced that it was going to fully withdraw from the Iran nuclear agreement. And this is also on top of back in 2012, Iran is suspected of targeting U.S. financial institutions, even knocking a few websites offline. We spoke to an industry agency that's responsible for watching out for this type of thing. Says Iran's done it in the past. It's suspected could target the financial industry again, Shep.
Well, anything from the White House on this, Rich?
Well, the State Department and the administration say they are watching this, they're concerned about it, and they're claiming that Iran, or demanding that Iran cease all of its malicious cyber activity. Though we did see back in the summer, the Trump administration changed what was then an Obama administration policy. The new policy allows for the U.S. government to be more aggressive, takes off some of the restraints on using its own cyber capabilities in a way to try to deter other governments from attacking the United States. The Justice Department has also indicted a number of Iranians. There have been sanctions, and that's essentially the strategy on that front. Back to you.
Rich Edson reporting from the State Department. Officials at the Veterans Affairs Administration say they're trying to speed up payments after thousands of vets didn't get money they were promised under the GI Bill. A live report from the Pentagon coming up.
Rock plus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Orbit about 22,000 miles above Earth. That satellite is owned by the nation of Qatar and will link amateur radio operators around the globe. And if all goes well, the booster rocket will land on a barge in the Atlantic Ocean. Thousands of veterans waiting weeks for their education and housing money because of a glitch in the government's payment system. A Veterans Affairs Department official promised to speed up those payments, but some students say they're going into debt because of all these delays. Jennifer Griffin reporting live from the Pentagon.
Shepard, in about 10 minutes, a hearing by the House Veterans Affairs Subcommittee will begin to try to get answers to these very questions about this GI Bill and these payments. Here's what we have been able to glean based on figures provided by the VA. 895 students have waited longer than 2 months. They could be missing in the range of $1,500 to $6,000 or more in expected payments. Nearly 60,000 total claims remain. In October alone, about 1,000 students under financial hardship called a VA hotline for immediate help. About 450,000 veterans have been affected by this. The problem seems to be a 50-year-old computer IT system that is shortchanging veterans involved in undergraduate and graduate school programs under this GI Bill. These vets are facing mounting unpaid bills. Some are going into debt as a result of the technological glitch, which many on Capitol Hill predicted in July. In fact, the VA official being questioned in July was pushed out of his current job last week, reassigned to Houston as a result of the scandal.
What's the plan B going forward if we continue to have problems, which is not without precedent within the VA's IT history?
Well, we can't not process claims and pay schools and pay veterans. So we would continue to process the claims under the rules engines that we have now until such time as the IT solution is in place.
That's wrong. We need to fix it now, whatever it takes. Now, a secondary concern is we need to update the systems at the VA as well as the Pentagon so that they do work, they provide appropriate benefits, and that the systems can talk to one another.
Speaking today at the Marine Barracks, President Trump touted improvements he's made at the VA, a $200 billion budget this year, including $30 billion to fix these computer problems, Shep.
Jennifer Griffin reporting live from the Pentagon. There's still more than a month away, but we're seeing sleet and snow all the way from Arkansas to the Northeast. That video from this morning in St. Louis. The plow operators hard at work with the first big storm of the season. Some areas could get up to 10 inches of snow. After our reporting here, we'll have a Fox News update on Facebook Watch. That's a live look outside our studios, I believe. The snow started here about 2 hours ago. It's supposed to snow for most of the afternoon, and then rain and more rain all night, around 33, 34, 35 degrees or so. So it's not going to be too bad, but that afternoon commute for a tiny town and the tri-state region, also for the Washington, D.C. area, whew, afternoon commute is not going to be fun. Not today. It's Subway Day in the USA. It'll be crowded down there. Should news break out, we'll break in because breaking news changes everything on Fox News Channel. Your World with Neil Cavuto's coming up. Some context and perspective on the markets from today. Started out very low on the session, but we're ending up in the green. The Dow up around 200 points. Neil has it all on the Network America Trust for news and information on cable.